Yeah, I guess Sitting Bull has always been a hero of mine. I read all about him when I was a kid and everything. Ironically, later on, after I got wounded, I found that me and Sitting Bull had been wounded in the same area, left hip. There's an old Indian mount up here and stuff like that, and it's the 4 directions, and it's kind of a private offering of sorts, a little private meaning to me and stuff. I think everything's spiritualized, no matter what it is, be it dogs, be it the ground. Everything's spiritualized as far as that goes. We're all part of that spirit. I guess when I got over to Vietnam, like most people, I'm sure, I didn't understand the war. I felt kind of a kinship with a lot of the people. But after you see some of your friends and everything killed and stuff like that, it really changes you. It makes you want to actually kill. And you don't really care who you kill. You want revenge, and that really changes a person from a country boy, so to speak, to what they have molded you into. And then when I came back from Vietnam, they labeled you as baby killers and everything like that, so we very seldom spoke about Vietnam because it just wasn't good to, you know. People didn't think much of you or anything like that. So we just kind of kept quiet about it. And then when I was out in western North Dakota, at times I was going to college and stuff, you needed to get out and away from people, so I would go out to the badlands and wander around there. I found that they had wild horses out there, and I started following them around just to spend my day. Later on, I'd always competed on horseback in different types of events, but they started a race that they called suicide racing. Suicide racing is a rough country race where it's kind of fashioned after the old Indians and cowboy races. Basically what it was probably about 1.5 miles, and they would go out into rough country like the Badlands and stuff and set up a couple of flags here and a couple of flags there and a couple of flags further on. And what you'd do is you'd start out in front of the crowd and you'd kind of make a big circle and go around them through the rough stuff and finish back in front of the people. You really trusted your horse and you sure weren't out to hurt your horse like a lot of people would figure. And usually the ones that were best at that would end up making the money, so to speak. But I guess I kind of chose that sport because I figured in a sense of the word that I'd already faced death a few times and I was no longer really afraid of dying because I'd figured I'd pretty much gone through it in Vietnam and I wasn't ready yet, so I might as well take more chances.
Oh, that's better. That'll work. As long as it's...
Well, how come?
You need the flashlight?
If you can get me the flashlight.
Now Leo, what was that you was trying to put in her mouth there? Them bits over there.
Speculum.
What are they for?
Keep the jaws open so they don't bite down on your hand.
Oh.
When you're trying to see what's wrong. Or they're mostly for floating teeth. Which they work good. I can see her teeth real good, but I can't see the sides of her. Inside of the mouth, inside the booms, I can't see.
Yeah.
That opens up that dang jaw.
See it right where these teeth are? Some people have this strange disease where we are obsessed with horses and we can't get over it and we have to get better. We just have to. Always looking for challenges and learning experiences. This man has done it all his life.
He loves his horses. He's got an obsession. He really does love his horses.
The way I would describe Leo is kind of mystically human because he's kind of magical. I can't really even put it into words.
I guess his obsession is all right.
He's just a natural horseman. That's his passion.
After the Custer fight, Sitting Bull and some of the other chiefs went up into Canada. And they were up in Canada for approximately 5 years. They were friends with the Queen and everything, but the Queen wouldn't help them out. And up in Canada, they actually started starving because there was no buffalo left up there or anything for them to hunt. So they decided rather than starve, they would come back. And when they came back into North Dakota and surrendered at Fort Buford. At Fort Buford, the military confiscated their horses. They in turn then sold them to the post traders Layton and Jordan. Layton and Jordan resold the horses to the different people in the public. And the Marquis de Moore was a French nobleman that started the town of Medora over in the Badlands. He bought, according to the records, 250 of these horses and brought them to his ranch in Medora. And his ranch is now Theodore Roosevelt National Park. And the horses there still fit the descriptions and pictures of the horses taken when Sitting Bull came in.
Just the mystique with Sitting Bull is, you know, in a way that's, I think, a large element here, and maybe that helps to explain some of the ambivalence too. You know, Frank and Leo Kuntz have said many times that they think that if these were George Custer's horses, that the public reception would be entirely different. But I think perhaps the reason that they were written about in the first place, that we have this paper trail that does take you from Fort Buford to the A.C. Heidekoper Ranch anyway, and you know, via the Marquis de Moray is because they were Sitting Bull's ponies, and he was, you know, he's probably the most famous Lakota Indian, and perhaps arguably the most famous American Indian in history.
If it wouldn't have been for the national park, the horses would have totally disappeared. It was kind of ironic that later on National Park personnel decided that these horses were becoming inbred, and they went to change the bloodline completely by removing the native type stallions, also many of the old line horses, and introducing your new or modern bloodlines, thereby changing the type of horse that was out there. That's when we kind of decided that the horses needed to be saved, and we started buying them up and started preserving them. We also formed a conservancy, which would enable us to do that, because out in the business world, you've got to make money at doing something like that. So having an organization like that has enabled us to continue with the strain of horses to this point.
I grew up in a big city and not a lot of people rode at all, period. So they suggested that I go work on the Kuntz Ranch, volunteer on the Kuntz Ranch. And I thought that was a great idea. It was North Dakota. Everybody was wondering why the hell I was going to North Dakota. But I jumped right into it. Oh shit.
Single girl, she's going dressed fine. kind. Oh, she wears a steady kind.
I don't know, he's out anyway, and beat him for it. Close that gate, Diana, we'll run that stud all the way through. Now we'll call loads on water,
I know he gets lonely. It's hard, especially with the downfalls of the horse business. When he gets into that mood and is thinking about how rough times are, even with somebody around, he has a hard time with it.
Hit her again.
Get that going, huh?
Anybody up for a game of horseshoes?
I don't know what them guy.
You know, decent, you know, warm and nice. I'm in the movies now, I'm big time. Look out, Leo, you get ready to blow up, there's a red light there.
Smoke alarm's going off.
Ooh.
How many miles do you think you walked?
Well, I know I walk too damn many. Let's put it that way, I walk too many. Oh, I kept walking out, walking, kept going. I could keep seeing 13 out there, but I said, geez, I got a long ways yet to go.
You remind me of all those men that worked at the Grand Canyon with the beard and the smokes and the beer and I don't know, just the rough look. They all were Vietnam vets, and they just sat around and bullshitted all day in the office.
When the firefight started, well, I was hit almost immediately. I had spotted some of the enemy dug in somewhat, and I was trying to shoot at them when I got hit. And then the tanks and tracks opened up, and then all the other infantry boys made it back behind our lines, and I was left out front in the middle of all the firing. And have you ever seen tanks or tracks online? It was jungle and everything. They'll cut down trees and everything with the firepower they have. And I was left in the middle of it all, and this one fella noticed I got shot, and at first I crawled into a depression to kind of cover myself, and after a while I could hear the tanks and tracks backing up, so I knew they was gonna leave me. So I kind of pulled myself up alongside of a tree, and this fella seen me and came running in and threw me over his shoulders and started running with me, and I figured we was done because dirt was flying all around us and everything like that. And he got me back to the tanks and tracks, and he laid me down behind a tank and went to help in the firefight and stuff like that. And while I was laying back there, I was pretty immobile by the gunshot wound I'd received, and all of a sudden the tank started backing up, and I was right behind the tracks of the tank. And the fellow that had come in to get me, he noticed that I was trying to crawl away from the tank, and the tank kept coming at me, and he got up and took his rifle. The fellow that was driving the tank, you know, they got their head sticking out a little bit at times, you know. He ran up alongside of him and just emptied his rifle right alongside his head, and he hit the brakes. And I mean, it was real close, next to getting crushed by the tank. So in reality, he did save me twice on the same day. Yeah, I guess Sitting Bull has always been a hero of mine. I read all about him when I was a kid and everything. Later on, after I got wounded, I found that me and Sitting Bull had been wounded in the same area, left hip. And I found that kind of different, that it's somebody that you admired for a long time. And gunshot wounds are rather unusual, and to be shot both in the same area kind of mystified me. Besides him being, I've always admired him because he, in all actuality, was a prophet of sorts. He had visions and stuff like that that came true. Like he knew that he was not going to be killed by the whites, that he was going to be killed by his own people. In fact, one time, and I think it was in the wagon wheel fight, there was an instance where they'd been out cutting wood, I guess, the soldiers and stuff like that, and the Indians attacked him, and like I said, it got to be a stalemate, and Sitting Bull rode up, and he then took his pipe and walked out into the range of the rifles of the soldiers and sat down, and they started shooting at him, and I guess the dirt was flying up around him, and he challenged any of the warriors to come in and smoke with him, and I guess there was 3 or 4 of them that came in and sat with him, and they sat there and smoked their pipe without getting a scratch. So he also predicted like Custer coming into the camp and soldiers falling and dying. So he's always been kind of a prophet of sorts, plus I really respected the way he resisted the change of the whole native system and everything like that. In fact, that is one reason they got rid of him.
When the Lakota surrendered, they had to surrender their rifles and their horses as kind of a demilitarization, and they were supposed to have been paid for their horses. And this didn't always happen, and there were these Sioux pony claims that were still pending well into the 1900s, in the 1930s and 40s. If you look at the archives of newspapers, you'll see the occasional story about Sioux pony claims. And so, you know, the loss of the horse was, I think, very devastating for them. Obviously, the end of the horse culture. And, you know, 1876 was a watershed year. We remember it as the year that Custer and the 7th Cavalry were defeated at the Battle of Little Bighorn. But it's interesting that in some of the Lakota winter counts, they remember that year as the year they lost the horse.
Through the years, I've tried to get the Native Americans involved in saving this strain of horses, but nowadays, because of the changes that have taken place, there doesn't seem to be too much interest in that. One of the reasons that I've noticed is that out on the reservations, they've gathered a lot of the people together in these smaller communities, and there is no real place for them to keep horses anymore. So there's a lot of kids out there and stuff like that that if they had a chance, they're probably some of the best horse people in the world. But the way the situation is nowadays on most of the reservations, it's not happening. In fact, they're being modernized. A full-blooded Lakota Indian came to my place the other day, and he was telling me about this rich man that came to the reservation, and he said they noticed they didn't have electricity, so he had electricity put in every house and everything like that. And then he noticed that they didn't have TV, so he had a TV put in every house, and he bought a satellite dish for him. And he said it was bad because now all the Native American kids want to be like the kids that they see on TV, and that they've kind of abandoned the old ways. But so I see things really going backwards there, and there has not been much help from them. I think that's one of the main reasons, is that they're advancing to our culture, so to speak, and their culture, horse culture especially, is being lost, and kind of the way people want to help, but in many ways they're helping the wrong way. Whereas I think if they would go back more towards the horse culture, it would be a lot better for especially the kids and stuff, because it gives them a more sense of purpose. It also would teach them how to get along with something other than themselves.
I haven't talked to a lot of American Indians about it. I've talked to a few. I just know that generally, given the very complicated history and the concerns about the appropriation of their culture and the images and the icons, that there's just, I think, a built-in guardedness and maybe distrust of outsiders, and there's perhaps always just the suspicion that somebody has their own personal agenda, and that they are in it for their own gain or something. And I think that probably, as far as I know, the Kuntz brothers actually have probably suffered financially as a result of what they've done to try to keep these horses alive. And I do know for a fact that, you know, being a horse breeder is not a way to get rich in this country right now, unless you're maybe a thoroughbred racing breeder in Kentucky or something.
How many horses do you have over there?
Probably about as many as he had here.
We'll lock them in that side grill there, and I'll go see what studs we need.
Well, I guess it's a dream of saving horses, and the way things are going, in the sense of the word. The horses got to pay for their own keep, and that point you're dreaming at the horse's expense, because nobody wants them anymore because of all the restrictions. The way the market is, years ago you could probably, if you had to, you could sell 3, 4 of them, and they would help pay a lot of the expenses, just those 3, 4 of them. Nowadays, the way the market is, with them stopping the slaughter of horses and stuff like that, you got to sell, instead of 4 horses, you got to sell 20, 30 horses to get the same amount of money through that type of a market. I've said before, I'm so proud of our politicians, the Republicans and the Democrats, and our president and everything. They all got together and were able to stop the killing of horses here in the United States. But they can't get together and stop the killing of people. So, if God ever does come back, I'm going to ask him to slap them. I think they got their priorities mixed up. I think that horse bill was ridiculous, but it stopped the slaughter of horses in the United States for human consumption. Thereby making no market for horses in a sense of the word. But slaughter market's not supposed to be where it's at either, you know. I hate to sit here and say that that's where the market's at, but that's what sets your price. Ten years ago, they were bringing 1,000-pound horses. Bring you $900. Now the same horse will bring you $150, $200, maybe. Young horses, you see them running through the ring begging for a bid for $5, $10.
Leo does not have as many guests, as many buyers, as many opportunities to sell his horses, unless they are looking for straight foundation horses.
And I'm sitting here, you know, gathering horses, gathering hay, getting all the work done here, getting ready for winter. There just isn't time, that's all, you know. And I know it because I've run into it before. It's like a squirrel that don't put up his nuts for the winter. Then you wonder why you're in the problem in the wintertime. It's because you didn't prepare. And it looks like the same thing's going to happen this year again. You need all kinds of feed. And we've been having a drought for a lot of years. Like this year, we probably got maybe 50% of the feed that we got last year. And everything with the fuel prices and everything's gone up, double and triple, including the feed. Hay used to be, well, half the price it is now. So about the only thing you can do is get rid of your numbers. I mean, years before we had people driving in to look at horses. This year, we've had hardly anybody come in to look at horses. It's tough. The only way to do it is by getting rid of stock. Just the way every rancher does it and stuff like that. Things get tough, they get rid of their herds. And that's basically what I got to do is get rid of my horses. Get them down to numbers where you can take care of them. So you got to sacrifice a bunch of them to take care of what's left. Well, you're the predator. You're the one out there picking the ones that got to go. Since you know them all and stuff like that, it's a real tough deal to do. You start looking for reasons why this one should go and why that one should go. You don't enjoy going out and looking at them. In fact, you don't.
Shooter, get out of here. All right, you go. I'd like to get out of here. Set the gate open. Get out of the way now.
I mean, I know I talk for the slaughter market and everything like that, but I sure don't like doing it. But most of the time, in the situations I've seen a lot of horses in, and the situation that can happen here when you don't got enough feed. The horses don't do well then, you know. And how do you get enough feed? I can't be going out and begging people, you know what I mean? It's like any other business, you gotta do what's necessary. That's why a guy gets pretty down about it. You know, after so many years of doing this and that, you know, you feel like you're pissing in the wind and pissing on your shoe. Maybe you should back up like my dad used to say, so you don't piss on your shoes. nothing lasts very long, as you soon found out when you got into combat. People die real fast. So basically, I didn't want my life to affect anybody else's, especially in a bad way. Something like marriage would come up or something like that, and my damn mule would just run off, and I couldn't get the son of a bitch turned around anymore. Besides, if I was going to get married, I was always going to be wealthy and make damn sure that I could take care of the little woman and whatever. But those Kuntzes were proud people too. We was born for, going to make damn sure we die that way. Sometimes solitary is the best.
When I go home, I know that there won't be anybody to talk to about training complications or some wonderful ride I had with my horse today, or I just got bucked off a miniature donkey yesterday. The ranch is very quiet most of the time, not hardly a soul there besides him. Nobody will be showing up to do anything on a daily basis. So I think it'll get fairly lonely out there, especially through the winter time when it's cold and you just want to stay inside.
Yeah, I'm gonna let these two in here and feed them for now. You should break up all the pieces.
Hang on, sweetheart. Since I've been here, I've attempted to help get horses ready for sale for regular buyers. I've tried to come and help and gentle horses and get them ready. It seemed like such wasted effort because nobody is coming to buy. So it's been really depressing watching horses go to the sale barns and having to get rid of them because we can't take care of them. Can't feed them, don't have enough feed for all of them. I have no idea how to explain the last 2 months at all. It's going to be a disappointment to leave because there will be nobody here trying to help get the horses ready for sale because a lot of people don't want wild horses. They want gentle horses that they can lead around at least. This is a dream, but it's having a rough time right now. Hard to stick around. So I just hope people will recognize what these horses are, how special they are, and that they'll become a part of the horse world like they should be. Next time.
Yeah, I really don't care no more. I guess you're right. Freedom. Freedom and harmony. That's about it. feeling of being free and being in harmony with something. That was a native way to be in harmony with the earth, not like we are.
The average person is just so focused with, paying the bills and getting the kids off to school on time that they just, there's maybe not a lot of room for something like the preservation of this distinct horse line.
A man left behind in the process of technology and progress. He's holding on to something that doesn't have any real financial value. The value hasn't yet been determined. Unfortunately, the value will come about in about 20 years when maybe there are no horses left, no Nokota horses left. And then everyone will look back at the tragedy of these horses being gone and why didn't anyone try to save them? Which is how we all work. Hindsight's 20/20. So I look at Leo sometimes as, the man in the lifestyle that time forgot. He's preserving a way of life that is no longer relevant.
Showing my bad habit, huh? see how the hell that went. Three Irishmen were digging the ditch. One called the other a dirty son of a Peter. Murphy had a dog, a wonderful dog was he. Gave it to a lady friend to keep her company. She taught it how to jump. Jumped into her petticoat and bit her in the cocktail. Ginger ale, 5 cents a glass. If you don't like it, just kiss my little ass. Me no questions, I'll tell you no lies. Ever get hit with a bucket of shit, be sure to shut your eyes. This little song we learned when we was kids. It's an old one.